So when you're happy with your final digital graphic, obviously this isn't a specific one, this was just my experiments. Make sure you saved it with a sensible name as a Photoshop file. So do the normal file save as and give it a name like mine, for example, up the top there in the file name. I've given it the name test final, but I saved it as a PSD, that's a Photoshop file, just to make sure that I've still got the editable layers should I ever need to come back and alter anything. So once you've saved it as a Photoshop file in the normal way, you're now going to need to export it depending on the use. So you should know about your file formats and the type of file format you'll need depending on whether it's print or web use. And that depends on the type of compression you're going to use as well. Remember, you want a smaller file size for web use, so that if you were to put it on a web page, for example, it is going to load a bit faster. And also the image quality is not so much of a concern when you're looking at it on a screen as it is when you're printed. Before you export it, do check that you've got the dimensions correct, because you might need to change them for print or web version depending on what the client has required. But I'm just going to show you the exporting. So I am going to go File and Export. So I can do various things here. I can either do a quick export as a PNG or export as. I'm going to choose export as. And you can see here what it's going to look like. Now over here it shows me the dimensions, but it also shows me the file size, which is in this case 16.7 megabytes. Now if I decided, well actually that's quite large if I'm loading it on the internet. If I wanted to choose, for example, a JPEG, which we know uses lossy compression, that goes immediately down to half size. Okay, in terms of the file size, which is going to make it much faster to load. And you can see there isn't a difference really in the image quality to the eye on the screen. So once I'm happy with that, I'm just going to press export, and then I'm going to keep it in my correct folder, and I'm going to give it the same name. I might want to actually put on here web version, just to remind myself. Press save. And that saved it. Now it might not be obvious it saved it, so you'll have to go into File Explorer just to check, and I'll show you that in a minute. I could also go Save As and choose, for example, the type. So if I wanted a TIFF to keep it really high quality, it will affect the file size. I could choose TIFF like that instead. Don't worry that everything else disappears, it's just because there's no other TIFF file formats up there. And I'm going to do this, and I might say print version. And it shows me all sorts of things to do with the compression. I'm going to keep it as none because I want it high quality. Press OK, and it tells me including layers will increase file size. Okay, fair enough. So I'm just going to cancel that for a minute. And I'm going to compress my layers down so that it discards the layer data, because I don't want that. I've already got that saved in a Photoshop file format. So I'm going to press OK again. Press OK again. You see it's saving down here. There we go. And that's saved as well. So I'm now in File Explorer, and I can see all the files I've been working on. You can see my different test version of my documents for my Photoshop file format, which shows I've been working hard and shows that I'm also aware of version control. Now, what I can see is what I've just been doing the last few minutes. So there was my final Photoshop file format with my editable layers still. There's my web version as a JPEG, and there's my print version as a TIFF. So obviously you don't have to use those file formats. It's up to you depending on which ones you decided in your client requirements. So you've got to make that own decision, but that's an example. But over here, what this does is show me the size of the file. So you can see here the web version is massively smaller than the print version, which is what I'd expect to see. So it's important that you can see the difference. And if you were to open up to look at them, you would notice that the print version is much higher quality than the web version. The web version will be fine for the use, but it's making sure that you've got the difference in the file types and also the file sizes when you're exporting your work. So do make sure you check that before you finish.